Meeting will come to order. Please rise. We'll ask Ms. Fondo if she will give the invocation, followed by Mr. McConnell leading us in the pledge of allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we do graciously praise your name tonight and thank you for the many blessings that we have in this parish. We thank you, Father, for wisdom and courage to do what is necessary to move Ascension forward. As always, we remember those who are at war and who are protecting our land. We specifically ask tonight for your blessings upon the families that lost 9 firemen. Father, we just thank you that you will secure our borders and our gates with your glory. And we thank you as always in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Douglas. I appreciate it. I was feeling a little down. Yeah.
Ms. Suzanne has noted that all council members are present. We'll move to chair's additions. I do have 2 additions, and I think I know of one other for sure that needs to be put on the agenda tonight. The first one is a resolution for. First one is a resolution dealing with 2000 Lake Pontchartrain Basin Restoration Program that is brought to me by Ms. Martha Collins, and it's a grant.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Todd Lambert.
Second.
Second by Adrian Thompson. Anybody opposed? No opposition? We'll place this under general business. We'll place this as 14A right after the presentation of our audit. The next one is dealing with an overview of a grant, and I think this is just a resolution dealing with Ascension Parish Inclusion League project.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Ken Shakespeare. Any opposition? No opposition. We'll also place that under general business, and we'll make that 14B. Mr. Shakespeare, did you have a comment or?
Yes, I would like to, for safety reasons, that we received a call today about Highway 44. We need to ask for a resolution for a detour there, and I asked to put that on 2/3.
And that's dealing with trucks, as you told
trucks,
me. The fact that gasoline trucks and several dangerous cargo trucks have been turned around
right
because
now
of
as things are.
Right. Okay, so we will we'll put that. Well, first of all,
Second.
he makes the motion. Second by Mr. Fontenot. Anybody? Any discussion on that? No opposition. We'll place that as under the Transportation Committee under Ms. Fontenot, and we'll place that at 11G.
We have a G, George.
I'm sorry. We'll place it after the chairman's report then. I apologize.
K.
K after chairman's report. Okay, any other 2/3?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Would like to put Westworthy on the agenda. 2/3.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hillensbeck, second by Mr. Thompson. You want to explain the Westworthy problem, Mr.
Yes.
Thompson?
Westworthy is have a bridge that was taken out of service. A bus went through it, and we need to move on making a motion to go out and bid that project
Under an emergency.
on the emergency.
We're going to discuss it. We're going to discuss that, what it does, okay? Okay, we got a motion and a second. The situation on Worthy Road is the bridge. We're seeking to get bids on the bridge, and we'll discuss that. You got a question, Ms.
Just
Fine?
put it like that to discuss it?
Yes,
Well, I was
just to
going to
discuss
ask if Mr. Bob was, wanted it on the agenda now, or if he had other plans.
No, well, he has some discussion about this. He also has some discussion with me and Mr. Thompson, and we'll discuss it when
That's fine.
we'll put that under the transportation, and we'll put that under L after we discuss the resolution for 44. I did have a request. In fact, Councilman Barriga talked to me about it, and also the parish president sent me a note dealing with the wastewater plan, which the Corps of Engineers had brought. It was also not on the agenda. I feel that we can discuss this, but I would not want to take action on this, is my opinion, because of the fact that this is something very serious, and it means a lot to our parish, and it needs to be on the agenda on a normal basis. Now, I do know that some requests were made, but it may have been inadvertently put off, but it was not on the agenda. So I will entertain a motion for a discussion, or at least another presentation. I think some core members are here. An overview. Motion by Dempsey Lammett, second by Councilman Thompson for discussion. Any other discussion? Let's do that right after the consent agenda. Any opposition to that? Let's do that right after the consent agenda, just before we take the committee reports, if you don't mind. We'll do that at 7A. And as I understand it, I mean, I didn't get my copy until Tuesday afternoon. I don't think council members have had a chance to even review, even though they may have had, different sections of it. You didn't get a complete copy of that until Tuesday. Okay. Any other items? All right. We'll move on now to agenda item number 4, the public comment period. If you have, you wish to speak on any item on our agenda, please see the Parish Secretary, Ms. Suzanne Patterson, and sign in for that speaker request. You'll have 3 minutes to address the council. We'll move now to presentations. We don't have any presentations here. Number 6, Parish President's Report. Parish President Roddy Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the council. We received 2 letters just in the last day or so from the governor's office pertaining to our request for community development block grants. We're excited to report to you that we received approval for $600,000 pertaining to Lemonville, which is part of the overall wastewater program that you'll see a presentation on tonight, part of a implementation plan and business plan throughout the parish. In addition, we received another letter from the governor, I think yesterday afternoon, where our program was also approved, our application for the what used to be called some urban and some rural type of grants that the members of the legislature had at the time, Louisiana Government Assistance Program now. We also received approval on that application, which will help us. We've been, I think, dedicating that or using that in the Country Ridge area. And so that's some good news that we're getting, starting to get a good many grants coming in, approvals. Senator Vitter's office called me yesterday. They have $300,000 that went to the Senate committee today in Washington for wastewater to be used for our comprehensive plan for the East Bank. And it says it looks like it will be hard dollars, meaning it will not be a matching program. It will come to us as an earmark, which has become an interesting word in Washington of late. So that was another good report from Senator Vitter's office. And so we've gotten a little over $1 million in the last day or so that we can use all in our wastewater program. And as you see the presentation tonight, you will no doubt realize that if we implement the first phase with about a cost of $42 million, if we would do that on, say, a 20-year period, it would cost us about $2.7 million a year. And so we're working, trying to put in place different financing mechanisms to help pay for that so it won't all come out of parish dollars. And so this is very good news. In addition, a couple weeks ago, the chair allowed the introduction of a person who questioned a stairway money that we had spent, and I feel like I need to respond since that became part of public record. And when the media called me, I told them the finance department was looking into this to try to get to the bottom of it.
Hold on, Parish President. I'm going to have to regretfully say that I will not allow you to do that. You can do that at the next meeting as long as you put it under Parish President's report. We have had this discussion before. There's nothing here in my presentation on report. I understand that you have been accused of some things, and I will allow you to do that, but it needs to be on the agenda.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I respectfully offer this. It was not on the agenda last time when the presentation was made. Nothing to do with stairway.
I wasn't at the meeting. All
Okay.
I know is how
Good.
I run the meeting.
I appreciate
Okay.
you running the meeting
I
properly.
understand. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, we'll move on now to agenda item number 7, consent agenda. There's nothing on the consent agenda. We'll move now to the U.S. Corps of Engineers, New Orleans District. Councilman Barriga, actually, you talked to me about this the first thing when we got here this morning. Did you have some order of what you wanted somebody to speak on?
I think the Corps
Okay.
will do the presentation.
Just to make sure you address yourself, what's your position, and so that for our audience, okay?
Deron Delzy, Project Manager, Corps of Engineers. I think the council has a copy of the presentation. I understand the screens aren't working. First, we'd like to thank the council for the opportunity to present tonight. Just want to give you a quick overview and update on the path forward on the capital improvement business plan for water and wastewater in Ascension Parish. As you're all aware, Ascension Parish is one of the fastest growing areas in the country. Pre-Katrina, it was roughly the 87th fastest growing parish in the country. Post-Katrina, you guys experienced a huge surge in population, and you've moved up to basically the 9th parish, fastest growing county in the U.S. You guys have had significant pressure on your wastewater system. The current infrastructure often has individual wastewater treatment plants. This leads to poor effluent being discharged into your drainage dishes. You also have possible sanctions from your public agencies, and this also poses a potential health risk. So this business plan basically looks at the parish, the East Bank of Ascension Parish, and the entire parish, and it orchestrates all of the different elements of your wastewater treatment system. We go to slide 3. Your population has basically outgrown your infrastructure. And for the parish to continue to position itself for future growth, for future development, it is imperative that a plan is selected whereby it's imperative that a plan is selected for the wastewater treatment system. The Corps has prepared a comprehensive plan. It identifies finances. It sequences the work. If you go to slide 4, the plan is basically broken up into 4 different phases. We look at the low interest loans from the State Revolving Loan Fund. We're considering grants, the Section 219 money. It lays out project costs. It sequences your planning, your design, and your construction phases. It also provides suggested ordinances for the parish to implement so that it can sustain its future growth. Slide 5 is the overlook of your comprehensive plan. If you look at the total wastewater treatment plan costs, it's estimated to be $187 million, and is broken up into 4 phases. Phase 1 is roughly $42.9 million, and this is the phase that we can implement over the next 3 years. It's comprised of mainly 3 parts: your collection system, your effluent outfall to the river, and the wastewater treatment plant that has a design capacity of roughly 1.5 million gallons per day. And then we see the subsequent phases, Phase 2, Phase 3, and Phase 4. Phase 2 with an estimated cost of $52 million. You have your collection system. You have the bayou basins, Black Bayou and Muddy Creek Basin. And then you also have Phase 3, which is your collection system and expansion of your wastewater treatment plant, and Phase 4 at a $51 million cost. So this orchestrates your plan over the next 20 years to bring on various areas of the parish. And also on Phase 4, you're looking at Phase 3, you're looking at the area south of I-10. If we go to Slide 6, it goes into more detail for your Phase 1 elements. Again, the wastewater treatment plant. We have completed the design of that. That's ready to go. You have your effluent outfall. It's comprised of two main aspects, your pumping stations and your effluent force main. The pump station design is essentially complete, and we're about to wrap up the force main design. And if you see in the parentheses, those are the dates that they are scheduled to go to construction. Your wastewater treatment plant, we can be in construction in the 2009 timeframe. Your collection system will be ready to go into construction in the 2009 timeframe, as well as your effluent outfall. And then you also see Bayou Narcisse and Alligator Bayou as the other components that makes up Phase 1. So for Phase 1, we have identified 4 collection areas. So there'll be sufficient flow to the wastewater treatment plant, and at the cost of $43 million. The financing for this is the State Revolving Loan Fund. We have already worked. We're preparing the documentation necessary to get that State Revolving Loan Fund package ready upon the approval of this plan. I'm on page 7. As the parish president mentioned earlier in his address, the estimated debt service for this loan fund is roughly $2.7 million per year. And that, though, you won't start repayment until fiscal year 09, fiscal year 10. That's what when you're looking to start to repay your loan. The first 2 years, you're just going to be paying interest. In FY08, we're looking for the parish to provide roughly $1.5 million to accelerate the completion of your collection system. Grand Goudin and the Bayou Narcisse areas, those are the 2 areas that we're looking to bring online so that we'll have the ultimate flow to the wastewater treatment plant. If you go to page 8, it talks about the major action items that needs to be completed over the next 12 months. Of course, as I previously mentioned, Grand Goudin collection system and the effluent force main. Those are the first items that would go to construction under this Phase 1 implementation strategy. Complete the DEQ revolving loan fund application, which requires engineering documents, environmental documentation, and financial documents. And we are preparing that package now. We need to prepare a formal procurement process. As you expend these federal funds, we have to provide documentation as it relates to the procurement process so we can get reimbursement for some of these funds and continue to expend the federal dollars we have in hand. And ultimately, all of the individual projects that are ongoing, there needs to be facilitation and coordination so all of these projects can work in concert. We can go to the page 9. Here's some additional items that need to be accomplished over the next 12 months. We need to take an inventory of your existing wastewater treatment plants, your individual package plants, and sequence how you bring all of those plants into the comprehensive system. And of course, we're going to need some support and passing ordinance for the new subdivisions that come online so that the parish can start receiving some revenue from those plants as well. And the funding funding amounts have been identified for the next 3 fiscal years. For the remainder of this fiscal year, we're looking for the parish to provide roughly $500,000, and this is to wrap up your design and accelerate your completion of design and begin your structure inventory. The next fiscal year, you're looking for roughly $1.5 million, FY09, 2.3, and ultimately, by the fiscal year 10, you're looking at 3.1, and this includes your principal, your loan repayment for your state revolving loan fund. So by the time you get to fiscal year 10, the parish can provide in the operating budget the funds necessary to repay the loan, plus your user fees will be able to address the needs of the parish. And ultimately, we're going to also need some assistance in property acquisition. As we bring in the force mains, they're going to be right of way that's going to be required. So basically, the plan that we provided to each one of you outlines in detail work sequencing. It identifies funding sources, and we've laid the path forward. It's essentially your roadmap to provide sewer for the entire parish. Any additional questions?
Okay, good. Any questions?
One comment, Mr.
Yes. Parish President.
The other day, I understood this cost was $154 million. Now, where did the additional $33 million come from, Duran?
The amounts that you're looking at also includes, we've included your STAG grant money in there as well. As the comprehensive plan, we've wrapped that up into the total. So we're showing the overall monies that have been expended upon the project, not just the work that we've identified outside of the EID. This also includes your EID money.
Okay, so the work on the West Bank with the
Yes, sir.
jail and other
Yes.
projects over
That's
there?
all included in that total.
That's all included in that total?
Yes, sir. And it includes your design as well.
How much did we put in there for the parish jail expansion, you recall?
Not right offhand. I don't have. Yes, sir.
Okay,
It just
thank you.
would have been the total project amount, yes.
Councilman Lambert.
Yeah, in the amount, the existing plants that are they figured in as far as buying them out? You know, 'cause they're owned by independent companies right now. We're gonna have to buy them out.
Yes.
I'm sure it's gonna be probably costly. I don't know if you have that cost figured in the amount.
No, sir, that cost is not figured in this amount. The money that we've identified is to go find out where these existing plants stand as it
Where
relates
they
to
are.
status
But
and who
this-
owns them, and then that will also implement acquisition strategy.
So that
for
could be a pretty good fee right there.
It could be. At this point, we need to do some further investigation in that area.
Thank you.
Councilman Hillsback.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just think it should be pointed out on page 5, the total program cost. It goes back to what President Hughes said, $187 million. That's actually in 2007 dollars.
Yes, sir.
And we're talking about a 25, 30-year plan here.
Yes, sir.
So that's going to go up from that 187 million. This if we did everything, we had all the money, we budgeted all this one year. But we can expect this cost to escalate in out years.
Yeah,
Yes.
due to inflation factors, correct.
Right, okay, all right.
Councilman Thompson.
Yes, sir, thank you, Chairman Valentine. Has the site been secured yet, President?
As we said 2 weeks ago, Councilman Thompson, BASF is not going to give us a title and deed to the property until we show them that we've adopted a plan and we're going to start having money in place to do it. They don't want a piece of property sitting there for decades. This has been talked about since the 70s in our parish. They want to make sure we're going to do it. And so once the council adopts this master plan, I think we'll be ready to move forward. Now, let me point out this, and if I could, in reference to Councilman Hillenbeck's question. Keep in mind that construction costs today are significantly more than they were just 2 years ago. And there is some indication now that some of those costs may be starting to go down. So when we talk about $2007, if we compare that to $2005, you have a significant increase. That's the normal cost of living or inflation. Just like the state bubble. They got $3 billion or whatever that number is of extra surplus because of the Katrina bubble. That same Katrina bubble has really created a bubble effect on construction costs that may actually go down in the next few years. And there is some indication of now, maybe a little bit of that starting to take place, is supply and demand. And our permits this year, for example, in the parish are down, building permits 20-25% year to date. So as that happens, you'll see some leveling, I think, in the pricing there. But obviously, we can't know for sure.
And if I may add, Mr. President, we also have a meeting scheduled with BASF for June 29th to discuss this issue and show them the progress that has been made to date.
Councilman Thompson, you still on
Yes,
floor.
with us moving forward with this comprehensive plan, have we looked at drafting the ordinance to start accepting, going to developers, asking them to donate the sewer system to the parish instead of letting some private owner come in and take over?
Yes. One of the things that you look on page 9, pass ordinances, one of the things that our consultants are doing, and we'll meet with the one or two private owners that we're aware of a current system. But keep in mind, as systems get older, these guys are looking for a way to get rid of them sometime, not to sell them, if somebody will take them because of DEQ requirements and things. And so what some of the adjacent parishes are doing, and we've met with them, they're taking in the new developments that are of a quality they think that they'll be okay with as they work on the overall plan. And
That's
it's
why I
still
was
letting
heading,
some
President.
private ones take over some other ones. So this is going to probably be some kind of a combination, and this is what the court will be working on this the next few weeks to give us a sample ordinance from other places. We'll have to meet with the owners of existing package plants within subdivisions. But sewer basically doesn't make money. So a new plant, a private owner, he's okay with it for a few years probably. But then as that system gets older, they begin to experience problems. So all that's got to be dealt with. It's going to take a little time. But yes, the council will need to pass an ordinance or two in the next few weeks or months if we're going to take over some new development. We're going to put it in the parish system now. Parish people are going to have to maintain it instead of turning it over to a private developer. Those decisions have to be made by this council in the next few weeks and months. Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Councilman Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Page 2, you had potential health risk and disease, and you saw how fast we are growing because we do not have this, this infrastructure in. Could you give me an outline or a timeline before the way we're growing right now? So you say about 15 years, you say we'll be most likely in a bigger help if we don't adopt this plan?
If some actions aren't taken, it will eventually stagnate some growth, basically, because you won't have the infrastructure in place to support future development. And the infrastructure that the current wastewater treatment systems that are in place, the individual package treatment plants were designed for long project life. So they only will last, say, 10, 15 years on those. So you'll start to run into problems as time goes on. And you could be subject to EPA sanctions and improper discharge limits.
Any other questions? Councilman Savoy.
Yeah, as far as Phase 1, you've got it down here as $43 million for Phase 1.
Yes, sir.
Correct? And on page 9, you've got a breakdown on the monies that we're looking at having to come up with for year 07, 08, 09, and 010, which comes up to $7.4 million.
That's the funds that are going to be required from the parish. The 42.9 is going to be funded via the state loan revolving fund.
Okay. In Phase 1, how many users it will be in Phase 1?
It'll basically have roughly 1.5 million gallons per day. Which
No, I'm talking about users.
Users.
Tie-ins, how many?
It's going to serve a population of 9,000. Okay.
9,000. Okay.
Yes.
9,000, and we do have a target of $40 a month.
Yes, sir. That is the targeted.
That's calculated in these figures.
The figures that are shown here, the FY07 no, sir. This is the money. The figures that are shown on slide 9 for FY07, 500,000, and FY08, the 1.5. That's
Right.
the funds that are going to be required from the parish. Your user fees won't come into play until you reach your 09 time frame.
My name is Falcom Hall, and I'm from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. What we did an analysis of the total cost of the system using $40 per household to make sure that we could effectively pay for the majority of the system with the $40 per household. The first 2 years, you will be paying that $500,000 to $2.3 million, hopefully, out of the parish budget as we do construction. We have construction going on. We want to advance some of the designs, okay, and that would be a part of your contribution. That contribution may go down, depends on the amount of money we get from 219 or some of the other grants programs. As you get to year 10, when we fully have the system in place, under construction, and you have to start paying back on the loan. You also will be collecting some of the user fees, so the $3.1 million would not entirely come from the parish budget.
Right. Okay, that's good. I'm satisfied. I just wanted to know how many users and when they was going to come online.
Any other discussion? Okay, certainly you can see there's a lot of questions. We haven't had time to peruse this ourselves, most of us anyway. Some of us may have already done that. We'll have this on the agenda at the next regular meeting. I would urge Chairman Berger of the Utilities Committee possibly call a special utilities meeting for some discussion. I would also like to charge, as chairman for the council, I've had a couple of council members ask me, URS, if you could supply URS with the plan and whatever information you have, and URS look this over for us, and maybe if they have some recommendations, that certainly would be helpful. But I'll leave that up to Councilman Barriga if and when he has time. I know we have a holiday approaching and everything, but we will need to probably have a working meeting, Councilman Barriga. Any other discussion? Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Hull. Okay, we'll move on now to the committee reports. Utilities Committee, Chairman Barriga.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 8A, Country Edge, to transfer $300,000 in excess funds from the road construction fund to fund the remaining amount of Country Ridge.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Thompson, second by Councilman Savoy. Discussion. No discussion. Any opposition to the motion? So moved.
8B, approval of the jail sewer contract.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Thompson, second by Councilman Shakespeare. Discussion. Councilman Hillensback.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to let everyone know that I did meet with the sheriff for a couple hours today, and we discussed this issue and several issues, and all of my questions were answered, and I appreciate his time, and I know he's got a vision for this parish, what needs to be done for both now and in the future along the lines of incarceration of people out there breaking the law, and I'm fully on board. And I also just want to thank the sheriff for his comments. He's getting involved with trying to help this body and our parish with Highway 42. So thank you, Sheriff, for your time today. See you in the audience out there.
Any other discussion? Any opposition? So moved. We'll move now to agenda item number 9, Personnel Committee. Chairman Savoy?
Mr. Chairman, the Personnel Committee did not meet.
Thank you. Agenda item number 10, Recreation Committee. Chairman Oliver Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Recreation item A is reimbursement of Ascension Baseball Association, $4,500 for the fence and $6,000 for umpire, pending legal and accounting department.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Barriga, second by Councilwoman Fontenot. Discussion. Any opposition to the motion? So moved.
Item B, name change to Lemonville Stewart Park to Lemonville Stewart and Madison Memorial Park.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Shakespeare, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Discussion. No discussion?
I'd like to have a little background information. This is for Mr. Paul Madison, in honor of Mr. Paul Madison. He and Mr. Stewart had worked a number of years in the community and had done just a tremendous amount of work on a daily basis. And when Mr. Stewart passed away, they wanted to recognize him by naming the park after him. And Mr. Madison had passed away this past year, and the people of the community wanted to recognize him also. And the Stewart family thought that it was a great thing that they would be there together. So I think it's very appropriate for this to be done, and I'm glad it's being done.
Okay. Any other discussion? Any opposition? So moved. My comments on this agenda item will be a go-to, I guess, for the administration and possibly a couple of council members. We really do not have a policy in place for the parish for naming of facilities and or recreation fields and or anything else that belongs to the parish. And I think we would, in conversation, in fact, the parish president, Ronnie Hughes, called me yesterday, I guess it was, maybe today, and talked to me about it. But this did go through the process, and that's why I talked with Chairman Joseph. This was brought up at the Recreation Committee and was discussed. So it did go out through our process as it stands now. But I would suggest that we as a council possibly look into maybe a couple of people from the staff and a couple of council members getting together to try to formulate something. Maybe we'll run that through strategic planning to formulate a policy dealing with the naming of facilities. Okay? We'll deal with that at a later time.
Mr. Chairman, that's my report.
Thank you, sir. We'll move now to the Transportation Committee. Chairwoman Cheryl Fontenot. Ms. Fontenot.
Thank you, Mr. Valentine. As you can see, we had a very lengthy meeting. It was actually one of Mr. Bob's first official meetings, and we had a lot to cover. And so now we'll turn you over to Mr. Bob, who has. Mr. Bob, did you want to take these, or did you want me to do them one by one?
I'd be glad to. Yes, ma'am. Chairman Valentine, President Hughes, members of council. I'm Bob Turner, Director of Public Works. I want to report to you the results of the Transportation Committee, which Councilwoman Fontenot indicated was rather long, and it was. First item was consideration of private roads to be accepted into the parish system. We'd looked at a significant number of roads and had questions and pared that down to ultimately 7 roads that have before you for consideration of taken into the parish. It's our recommendation that those be accepted. I would point out to you that we do have approximately 5 to 8 others that we will still be discussing before the Transportation Committee, and they will come to you with the recommendation of the committee at a little later date.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I entertain a motion, I do have one speaker on agenda item 11. It wasn't indicated A, B, or C, but it does have Spelman Lambert Road, which I think was involved in this. So would Mr. Williams approach the podium, please?
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
I said a lot, I think, on the 12th, and there's a lot of faces in here that wasn't here on the 12th. I just want to know if that had been reviewed, what had to be, that was said and talked about. If not, I'd like to go through a few things. The importance of these roads.
Would you state that again, Mr. Williams?
On June 12th, we had a meeting with Mr. Turner and here, and we stated the importance of the roads and the problems and issues we were having. I don't know if this is the place to do it now or not, but I see faces in here that wasn't in here that to hear the problems and the issue we had with these roads. And I need to know if this is the time or the place to bring this up.
Sir, you have 3 minutes if you'd like to state anything you would like to state on Spelman Lambert Road.
We live down Spelman Lambert Road. It was a private road. The parish uses our road to clean ditches. They're in there now. We was told the parish couldn't take it over. It wasn't built to spec. They come in and dug. The road is built to spec. It's 40 foot wide, 10 foot right of way on each side. The parish come in and dug a ditch 8 foot into our road. Now they say that's okay. The parish says that's okay. They're taking in, but yet the parish spec is 20 foot of road frontage. They dug up our covers that we put down, put in their covers. The road is rutted up. Nobody can get to it. It is terrible. Autistic child lives in the back. Bus will not come pick them up. I think there's 15 to 20 kids have to walk all the way up to this road to catch a bus. In my opinion, the parish has the money. It needs to be addressed. And it's causing a lot of feuding down the road between neighbors. I've asked Mr. Ronnie, I've asked the sheriff to put up speed limit signs. We have nothing. It's a third world country down the road. Somebody needs to take it in and put law and order on this road. It has to happen. Somebody has to do something. And that's what I'm asking for, and that's what I asked for on the 12th. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
If I could say something.
Okay, any comments, discussions? Okay, I will entertain a motion. Mr. Turner, do you want to state the roads that are
Sure.
being recommended, please,
Yes,
for
yes, sir.
acquisition?
Yes. Spellman Lambert is one road that we recommend that be taken in. Deer Lane is another one. Isaac Villa Extension, Shelley Street, Tracy Street, Mallard Avenue, and Big Easy. Those are the 7 that we recommend that be taken into the parish system for maintenance.
These were discussed at the transportation meeting. Those are the recommendations of the DPW department and Mr. Turner at this time.
So moved.
That's correct.
Moved by Councilman Barriger, second by Councilwoman Fontenot. Discussion. Mr. Shakespeare.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I wasn't able to make the transportation meeting due to another meeting I had to attend. And I have a couple of questions. The Spellman Lambert Road, that is a private road?
That's correct.
Is
Yes,
it
sir.
not? How many houses are on that road?
24.
24 houses? How did 24 houses get developed on a private road?
While I can't speak to that directly, I can tell you what I do know. Essentially,
This is
it
a
was
subdivision.
constructed as a private subdivision, a family subdivision, if you will, and then was split into various lots over time. And
Okay,
as
so-
those lots were split and then split again, they were sold to different individuals. So now we have a number of new people, in effect, in our parish that did not recognize that that road was their responsibility. It was not a parish road, and they came forward just as this resident has came forward and asked for some help and assistance on those. It's my feeling that a road with 24 residents rightfully ought to be a public road. Now, maybe it should have been a public road at the outset, but I don't. I clearly believe that it ought to be a public road at this point. It does meet our minimum standards. It does require quite a bit of work, but it does have a 40-foot wide servitude, and it also has a width of road that is within our specs. So it's one that would be clearly eligible for us to maintain without undue effort.
And this, our guidelines say that this had to be in effect before 1994, 93, I think.
There have been a number of guidelines in the past that spoke to that. There was a great number of roads that were taken in. I think in 93, a great number were added at that time. There were other requirements that were set out, had to do with if individuals wanted to have a road brought in, they had to actually dedicate the right-of-way by a deed, and such as that. This effort is very similar to what was done in '93, and it mirrors that effort to bring a few of those roads in that are close or meet our standards, and have a number of residents affected by them.
And I agree with you. A road with 24 houses needs to be brought into the parish. I mean, that's one of the things. My problem is that it started out as a family petition, and it was made into a subdivision. This is happening all over the parish, and we are opening a Pandora's box that the rest of the residents of the parish are going to have to pay for a road that other subdivision developers put in themselves. We require, and if we go over the subdivision regulations now to see what it takes, now we're requiring a person that builds a 24-lot subdivision to do a complete road and a drainage system and traffic study and everything else that we need. And these are not doing this, and then the public has to come back years later and pay for the road. And I just want everyone to know that after tonight, we're opening up a Pandora's box that everybody that has a family petition, excuse me, with a gravel road is going to be coming to the parish, and they're going to be gaining a parish road because we're going to have to take them in because we have not followed our guidelines. Our guidelines are 1993. They have to be in. Just so everybody knows that if we do this, we're going to be opening up something that's going to significantly increase the number of roads we have. And I do think that we need to bring these roads in, but we need to have some type of plan in place and or do something with the family petitions that ensure that these people that right here that live on this road, we're not going to have that happen to someone else in the future. We don't want these people to be in that situation again. So I would ask that you come with some recommendations so that in the future we're not 10 years from now when we have these things, we're not going to come back and have to ask the taxpayers to pay for a private road.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Hillensback.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was at the transportation meeting the other night, and was in the audience watching all the discussion on the private roads. Also went out and checked myself on Mallard Avenue. I had driven that road once before. That is a concrete road that was built by Mr. Willard Quitmore, and I can assure the members of this body that you could drive an M1 tank down this road and it would hold up and suffice. I question the need for a bond on a concrete road. Perhaps maybe an asphalt road I could understand. So I asked Mr. Turner to go back out and take a second look. Mr. Bob, did you have a chance to go by and take a look at that? And do you have a comment on the need for the bond?
I did look at it. In fact, President Hughes and I looked at all of the roads again. And that particular road is a concrete road in very good condition. It meets all of our standards. I'm not sure why it was not accepted back when it was constructed. The reason that I had asked for a bond on it, I wanted to treat that road and that developer, since it was a single property owner, as if it were a new subdivision. If this were a new subdivision that came through the planning department and was developed, they would be required to put a bond up for 1 year. And so I didn't want to favor this particular developer who, for some reason or another, did not go through that process, and so I asked for the bond. But in practicality and reality, I don't see any problem at all with the road.
So you don't see the necessity for a bond on this particular road?
No, sir.
Okay, well, I'd ask that we waive this requirement on Mallard. And I guess, Mr. Chairman, do I need to put that in
You would have to. You
motion?
No, you put that as an amendment to the motion.
As an amendment to the motion, I make that amendment that
I'll second that.
That we waive the bond requirement on Mallard.
Moved by Mr. Hillensback, second by Mr. McConnell on the amendment. Discussion about the amendment.
Could I add something
Yes.
before you actually take the vote?
Yes, sir.
I'd also taken the same position on Tracy and Shelley Street. Both of those were constructed and are in very good shape. In both of those, I used my same philosophy of treating them as if they were a developer, and they really fall in the same condition as Mallard. So if you choose to waive the bond on Mallard, I would suggest that you also might consider doing the same thing on Shelley and Tracy.
Wasn't that in my original amendment? If it wasn't, I'll restate the amendment to include those two, those additional roads.
What would be right would be to withdraw your amendment, your
All
first
right,
amendment.
I'll
to another
withdraw
one.
my first amendment and come back with a second amendment to include Tracy and Shelley as well.
So that would be Willard, Tracy.
No, Mallard.
Excuse me, Mallard. I'm thinking Willard Quitmore.
Yeah.
Mallard, Tracy, and Shelley to remove the bond.
To waive
the bond requirement. Second by Mr. McConnell again. Discussion. Mr. Shakespeare.
Again, and like I said, these are little holes in our system that have been taken advantage of, and I just want everyone to know and understand that the one on Mallard Avenue that I'm familiar with, the people are doing this. It was done as a family petition, and the problem with taking it in as a public road, it is a very good road, very well built, meets all the standards. If they have 4 or 5 lots that you do 10, 12, 15 acres, when you put a public road in front of it, then they can do a simple division of property and divide all the property up however many times that zoning fits, and indirectly have a subdivision. that does not have to follow all the guidelines that all of our subdivisions have to do. It's a very simple process. And the parish, the rest of the taxpayers, has to foot the bill. So just understand that we are continually talking about development and managing growth. And yet we are not planning these things that they go through, and we end up, the parish has to come by and put in the infrastructure. So we need to be aware of this, that as we continue to vote on these things, how they evolve. And it's a loophole in our rules and regulations and our subdivision regulations, so just remember what is going to happen in the future on these developments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shakespeare. Any other discussion on the amendment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm not going to disagree with my public works director very often. He's a lot smarter than I am when it comes to roads, but I just want to talk about consistency a second. There's no doubt, one thing I've learned in 41 months, that family petitions have been abused by several people in our parish. And it's a weakness in our planning process that this council needs to address with the Planning Commission. Secondly, I ask that we require a bond just for consistency's sake. I did go out with Bob, and we went to all these roads. And sometimes things look really good from the top, but we haven't had any trucks or garbage trucks on these roads or anything. So I don't think we should open up another can of worms. You're already opening up one. And the thing that I would do as parish president is make sure that we don't let driveways become public roads, because it's not fair for the citizens to pay for the sins of the people who profit by abusing family petitions. And so I ask this council not to waive the bond requirement on road. We need to be consistent on these roads, and so that we don't have one developer saying, well, you didn't acquire it there, and go, Mr. Turner, I don't think's checked or tested any of these roads. They've been built. I'm not sure how old they are, how long they have been there. But for consistency's sake, and to make sure that we protect the parish and all of its citizens, the bond is not that expensive. And so I ask this council to keep that process in place, that we have that bond. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Hillsman.
Just one comment into Kent's comments, or Councilman Scheckschneider's comments, and I agree with everything you said, Kent, about the family petitions and how things are abused. And I'd just like to point out, you don't find family petitions anywhere else in Louisiana, only in Ascension Parish. So I stand ready anytime you want to bring that from strategic planning. I stand ready to vote and abolish that particular issue in our rules and regulations as far as subdivisions go. Because I just think that it is something that's abused in the long run, and the rest of the taxpayers pay for it. Thank you.
Mr. McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a brief comment that I don't want to belabor this, but I know that the policy for taking in private roads was really put in place to prevent certain people from getting a free paved driveway way back to their property. But these obviously are all quality roads that are well made, and it is the recommendation that they be accepted. So these are not private driveways, and I'm going to support accepting all of these roads in with the amendments.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yeah, Mr. Bob, at the Transportation Committee meeting, I asked this question to the administration. Say, for instance, Mallet Avenue has wholly no houses on it, and the road is 1,000 feet long. So if they start developing it over 8 houses, they have to have a drainage impact study, community sewer system as a regular subdivision. Am I correct on that?
Subdivision exists today. It's just got a private servitude. I would assume that that an individual that owns one of those lots could proceed with getting a building permit for a house without having to go through the details of a new subdivision. The subdivision already exists. It just doesn't have any houses on it.
But like I say, nothing, you're saying the subdivision exists. It didn't go through any drainage impact. It didn't go through any traffic impact. It didn't go to any regulations of our planning and zoning officials. And I'm just concerned there because it could be some drainage issues back there that's going to fall back to the drainage board when they start developing all these pads. And we got some issues back there, and we don't have any guidelines and nothing to go by to correct them.
it was a original family petition, my understanding. And so it is legal lots on a servitude, a 40-foot wide servitude. As the houses are constructed, I would assume that that the drainage would be localized around the houses, that one individual house would not impact the entire subdivision or the area. But no study had been made that I'm aware
We're
of.
concerned about downstream, and upstream flooding is what we're looking at big time right there. So, that's something that, we'd asked, and I think y'all said yes, they would have to go back to the Planning and Zoning Committee to,
If they go over 8,
if they go over eight lots, they would have to go through the regulations of a subdivision.
The Director of Planning and Development has stated that at this point, they would not have to do anything.
Unless they go over 8?
No.
It's a family partition with, just happens to have a concrete
But as of right now, we're taking in a road that we don't know how many lots is going to be on it, right?
Correct. Well, it was subdivided into 8.
It has 8 lots.
So automatically, they have to have a community sewer system.
No, if they go over 8, they have to have community sewer system.
Okay. Something we need to look at, because that's the loophole that I see here, that, we're taking in this road where we're not taking in every development that comes into the parish, their road on the new construction without going through the planning and zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Mr. Shakespeare.
And that was my concern, as Councilman Lambert has said. Once it's accepted as a parish road, it's already accepted as a family petition, which is like accepted as a subdivision. But there's no deed restriction on subdividing the lots again. And if you own a parish road, you can, through simple division of property, you can re-subdivide your lots without going to anything. So it can become a 16-lot or 24-lot subdivision without going to anyone and having any drainage studies or anything. And the reason it was brought to my concern because one of the neighbors had called me about it, concerned about their drainage. So I just wanted to bring that forward and understand that it can go, and we would have the same result that we would have on Spellman Road where they have 24 houses, simply by everything very legal. Everything is within our guidelines and our laws, but it is a way to go around the regulations that we do have.
Okay, hang on, Council. Unfortunately, let us get not focused on what we're doing. We got the amendment before us right now. We're discussing the bond on 3 roads. We will have time, whether the amendment passes or not, to go back and discuss the validity of taking roads in. So if you have a discussion on the bonds on these 3 roads, Mallet, Tracy, or Shelley, suspending that, waiving that, then that's what we need to discuss. Ms. Fontenot.
Yes, I do have some comments on the roads. Our new DPW director.
On the bonds.
On the bonds.
Only, okay.
Our new DPW director and the people, the crew that work with him, went through and gave us an itemized list, and we spent a good portion of our meeting last time. That's why the meeting was so lengthy on these roads. And I feel like that we should honor his recommendation. And if he recommended that we do a bond for just what he recommended it for, then I'm going to be in agreement with him. I just want to make that record straight, because we're trying to set policy. And if every time we have somebody set policy and we come up here and chop up the policy, where do we get?
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the bond? Okay, we'll vote on the amendment. Any opposition to the amendment?
Object.
Okay, we'll have a roll call. Ms. Suzanne?
For it.
I'm sorry.
Yes. On the amendment.
Councilman Shakespeare.
No.
Councilman Thompson.
No.
Councilwoman Fontenot. Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
No.
Councilman Savoy.
No.
Councilman Hillenspeth.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
No.
Councilman McConnell.
Yes.
Councilman Barga.
No, ma'am.
We've got 3 yeas and 2, 4, 6. We've got 7 yeas.
7 nays and 3 yeas. The amendment fails. Now we'll go back to the original motion. Discussion is still open on original motion. If you have some more comments on the roads that we're taking in, Mr. Hillensback.
I guess I'm just confused by the comments of Councilwoman Fontenot when she said we're going to take the recommendations of DPW director, and he just stated that he recommended
Councilman Hillensback, the amendment is over. We're talking about roads. If you have a discussion on the road, you can discuss. We're not going to talk about any comments on the amendment. Thank you. Any other comments on the roads? Okay, any opposition to taking in the road stated? No opposition? So moved. We'll move now to agenda item number 11B.
Item 11B is the unitary plan of operation for selection of parish roads for new construction and for maintenance of roads in the Ascension Parish. This is a housekeeping ordinance that was previously adopted, and I'm asking that be extended for the next 4 years.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Councilman Savoy, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? So moved. 11C.
Item 11C is improvements to the Roddy Roads Bridge project. I would like for Mr. Glenn Sheen of GSA to address this issue. He explained it to the Transportation Committee, and I feel it's appropriate he...
Mr. Shaheen.
Yes, Mr. Shaheen.
Yes.
Mr. Turner has asked you to explain 11C for us.
11C.
Roddy Roads.
That is the two bridges on Roddy Road, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. What we have prepared and submitted to the Transportation Committee on the 12th, June 12th, was a comparison of bridges versus box culverts. And for the Shadow Creek ditch, we're proposing three 20-foot, a three-span, 20-foot span bridge, 40-foot wide, versus 4 10-by-4 reinforced concrete boxes. And for the Burt Allen ditch, we have a three-span concrete bridge, 40-foot wide, versus 3 10-by-7 reinforced concrete boxes. And we gave you the cost comparison for the two. The cost for the bridges is slightly higher than the cost for the reinforced concrete boxes. At the Transportation Committee meeting, the Transportation Committee asked for a recommendation, one structure versus the other. And from a hydraulic standpoint, both structures will function equally. There were some differences in terms of, minor differences in terms of cost comparison. The benefit of the boxes is that we think that from a construction standpoint, they go in a little bit quicker than possibly a bridge. The Transportation Committee referred it to URS to review our hydraulics and cost. And talking with Kent Israel earlier, he indicated that he looked at the cost, but we either got the hydraulic information to him too late, whatever, but the cost comparison that he has shows that the cost comparison between the boxes and the bridges is very minor.
Hold up, excuse me. If any councilman have their cell phone on, or anybody in the audience, please turn it off. We're getting some feedback on it. Sorry about that, Ms. Shaheen.
Right, no problem. So that's where we are. What we are asking for.
Maybe yours, Mr. Shaheen.
Could be mine.
I'm trying.
I'll tear it off.
That helps. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Where we are, Mr. Chairman and members of the council, what the Transportation Committee referred this to the full council, hoping not to go through another Transportation Committee meeting to give us some direction whether we want to proceed, whether the parish would like to proceed with the design and construction of bridges versus the box culverts, and that's the decision before you tonight.
And this is also pending a URS review.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Lynn.
I would like to offer a motion that we accept the box culverts proposal, and with the Bird Island lateral ditch being some improvements to it also. I think we need to get on this pretty quick. The school is out right now, and we really need to move on this as soon as possible.
Moved by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, second by Councilman Hillensback.
Mr. Chairman, can I make
Yes.
one more comment?
Yes, sir.
I want to reiterate what Mr. Lambert has offered, the final comment that he made. The structures that we have designed, of course, if you recall, we had some issues with the channel configuration, and the parish authorized some additional work to go in and determine just exactly what those channel deficiencies were. The recommendation I think that's being offered tonight is a valid proposal. The downstream channel from Roddy Road, approximately 1 mile to where it ties into Black Bayou, is in dire need of improvement. So we would like to make sure that, and I think Mr. Lambert has done that as best I can appreciate his motion, and that is to proceed in addition to placing a priority on the channel improvements, the downstream channel improvements.
Okay. I may clarify, Mr. Shaheen, and I'm not sure, but I think that may have to be a drainage board issue, and you can suggest that in your motion that the drainage be, and Mr. Lambert, you could probably put that on your next drainage meeting.
I take care.
Okay, we will move on the box culverts. A motion by Mr. Lambert, second by Mr. Hillensback. Any other discussion? Mr. Barrett.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Valentine. I think Mr. Shaheen made mention that URS was asked to look and observe this particular item from Transportation Committee. They're here. Can we ask them to step up and talk about what they've seen? Or
Mr. Israel, did you guys have the opportunity to look at this box culvert situation?
Good evening, Council. I got the drainage information from Mr. Shaheen this afternoon. One of the questions I had earlier was the 4 or 10-foot by 4-foot box culvert. It was not a standard box that I'm familiar with, nor that the state of Louisiana Department of Transportation Development normally uses. I was going to request that I get a copy of a plan that shows this design that has been stamped by an engineer before we would go forward with it. Mr. Shaheen confirmed that he got the size from the fabricator, from the people who make this box, and that's the size they had. But I have not seen a set of plans on it, so I can't recommend it until I see something that has been approved by an engineer. So, okay. And as far as the design, the actual quantities, as they said earlier, the prices are very close. The drainage area in both structures will accommodate the flows through those structures.
Mr. Turner, do you have any information? I'm sure a councilman is probably thinking that.
I really have nothing more to add other than what Mr. Israel said. I do believe that, be it a box or a bridge, that the hydraulics is essentially the same through the structure. I think it really comes down to what GSA has recommended as what might be the quickest to put in place, and right. That appears to be the box culverts.
Okay. That's fine.
Well, I just wanted to add that in May 06, we did request that we get these bridges done before school during the summertime. We're already almost to the end. We are at the end of June. And so I'm just asking, my minutes show that we were told 7 to 10 weeks to go to bid process. Does any of this change any of that timeline? I mean, when can we expect? We have school, probably starting the middle of August. The beginning of August this year. They're moving it back some more. So.
Of course, the state bid law is a state bid law, and of course you've got to advertise for bids. Bob, Ms. Turner, and I think Kent and I have discussed the possibility of the parish installing the boxes. And I think at the Transportation Committee meeting, we thought that from a legal standpoint, and I'm not an attorney, I'm an engineer. From a legal standpoint, that may present some issues with state bid law because the cost of the materials would exceed the. I don't remember what the cost of materials were. I think we had that in the packet, but just the cost of materials would going to exceed the $100,000 limit for this type of project. So, with that in mind, plans will probably take us a couple of weeks to finalize plans. Once we're given a direction if we're going to design boxes or bridges, it has to be advertised for bid. It has to be advertised 3 consecutive publications within a 25-day period, which then you got to come back, award the contracts. We're looking at possibly the possibility of not beginning construction until probably sometimes around September, which puts us into the school year. Now the silver lining here, I guess, and we had talked about the possibility of doing both of these sites simultaneously, is rerouting the traffic. That it is possible to reroute the traffic. I know that does cause some inconvenience, especially with the school right there on Roddy Road.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just guessed that, if we knew May of '06
right,
that we needed to have this done for August, that we should have had the plans done well in advance of this and be ready to go for June the 1st.
Correct.
I don't have anything else to say.
Any other discussion? Yes, Councilman Hillenbeck.
Yes, I'd just like to add, and I agree with what Mr. Shaheen said. I believe the school system can adjust bus routes and what have you to, I'm sure it'd be an inconvenience, but I believe the school system can adjust and make entry routes into the school while this work is going on. But as far as back in May '06 when this motion was passed, maybe it'd have been appropriate if the committee had stayed on top of it. The committee had asked sometime after that motion, well, where's what we're looking for? Where are the recommendations? What are we going to do? Tell us where we're at. Not wait a year and a half later and then make an issue out of it. So, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Any opposition to the motion? Hearing no opposition, motion passes.
The next
agenda item 11D, we have a speaker. Hold on, Mr. Turner, please. Mr. Phil Garrett. Mr. Garrett, you have 3 minutes. Welcome, Mr. Garrett.
Thank you. Chairman Valentine, President Hughes, and council members. I spoke at the Transportation Committee, so some of you will hear the same thing again. I see that we're adding additional right-of-way agents for the parish, and although I was informed that they wouldn't be doing the work that we're already assigned, I don't know what work they would do other than that. And as you may know, we have had a lot of starting and stopping. In September, I have a written memorandum that they were just about ready to go from Mr. Bill Rue, and I have to get my people together, and then that same thing in January or February, and the appraisals and right-of-way plans and so forth still are not done on some of the roads. We did about 40% of Roddy. I don't know what percentage of Cannon, 70% of West Worthy. And we are basically sitting and waiting. Y'all could not give us this work fast enough that we could not do it. We gave a very, very low price when we first entered into this contract so that we wouldn't have to, we would have a quantity that we could depend upon. And I believe that by adding others, although, I'm sure they're fine people, then there's the possibility that this would breach our contract, which y'all would not want to do, I'm sure. And, you know, so I think that there was a question, that there was a legal question concerning that. I spoke to Ricky Babin. Someone had said, I don't know who did, that our contract was expired. It is not. I have the minutes of the meetings and so forth that Suzanne provided for me. And the only question we have to deal with Mr. Babin is on some billings, which have nothing to do with our work. We have already dealt with, I would say, everybody on these existing roads and have a relationship going with them. In some cases, we even have agreements and even some signed documents that we'll have to have re-signed because they were for the past president. And so I don't think that there's reason now, if later on y'all wanted to cancel our contract, you know, and then put someone in, you know, that would be your prerogative. But I don't believe that, you know, I've done anything that would, that, you know, wasn't our very best. I've always handled y'all's questions and so forth like that, and it has been really tough waiting and waiting for these things to be brought online for one reason or another, that they're held up. And now that they're about ready to go, here we see, you know, other people being considered to be hired. And I just ask that you at least pass on it and wait and see if there's, you know, something else that they have to do. I know that, I don't know if these same people are doing drainage, but some others are. And I don't have a contract with drainage, although y'all approved one, the Drainage Board did. But I would appreciate the, you know, a vote to pass this, at least for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Okay, Mr. Turner.
This particular item is for the approval of 4 contracts for right-of-way and real estate consultants. Mr. Garrett has indicated that he has a contract. Since I have been here, I have not been told that there is a contract with the Public Works Department. I am not aware of that. And so based on that, I want to proceed with these particular contracts. I would point out to you that it's not unusual in our process that we have task order contracts with a number of different firms that have the same skills. As an example, we have a number of contracts with engineering firms. We don't have an exclusive engineering firm in the parish. The same way with materials testing, the laboratories, at least 3 contracts, task order contracts with those individuals. For one reason or another, based on their workload, their skills, their expertise, we may move from one to another. So there is no exclusive contract that I'm aware of with the parish for any particular profession. And so based on that, irregardless of whether Mr. Garrett is correct or I'm correct, I still see no reason not to approve these task order contracts.
Okay.
Be glad to entertain any questions.
Motion by Ms. Fontenot.
Second.
Second by Councilman Todd Lammett. Discussion.
I just got one.
Councilman
Yeah,
Hillsbury.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to go ahead and support this tonight, but I'd like to ask for once and for all the administration, along with legal, to address this issue. And I'd like to receive something in writing from Mr. Babin. Does Mr. Garrett and Pelican Land Service have a contract? Is it in effect? Do we owe him money? If we do, I think he should be paid for past services, plain and simple. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hillsbury. Any other councilman, any discussion? Mr. Ziegler, you had some information you want to give us?
My only comment would be that I agree totally with what Bob has to say. You know, we need numerous sources for purchasing right-of-way. I've got to buy up 3.5 miles of right-of-way very quickly for sale for the sewer expansion at the jail, and that's just a drop in the bucket to the miles and miles and miles of right-of-way we'll have to buy for sewer lines in conjunction with the big sewer project that the Corps was talking about earlier. We're going to need a number of different sources for buying right-of-way in the very near future.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other discussion from council?
Just one.
Mr. Hillsbury.
Yeah, and if Suzanne, I'd like for that to be on the next agenda council meeting report on his contract? Because that's been kicked around, it's been hot potato for years, it seems like, and I'd just like to know once and for all, from legal, the status of his contract. And Mr. Hughes, I wish you'd look into that, and let's get a status report from Mr. Babin.
May I comment?
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin.
We have done this on several occasions, Mr. Hillsbeck. Mr. Babin's been in meetings. Mr. Rue, the previous Public Works Director, the council had directed me to send a certified letter to Mr. Garrett, I think April of last year, canceling the contract. We've had numerous meetings trying to resolve this, both with himself, Mr. Garrett, as well as his attorney, at least on one occasion. I'm not aware of all the meetings that were held. I met with Mr. Babin again, I think it was last week. Mr. Garrett and I talked again last night. I tried to put him and Mr. Babin together. I asked them to arrange a meeting to try to do just that. Now, Mr. Babin, you remember we sent you a letter a while back saying more or less he's getting out of parish government. Mr. Buquois now has that assignment, and I'm not sure if Larry, he's probably not familiar with this issue at all, so it's going to take some time for him to get Mr. Babin and bring them together. But I did ask Ricky to do that with Mr. Gary, with Mr. Turner. We've got a lot of new people here, with the new Chief Administrative Officer, with Finance. I don't know if that date has been set for that meeting. I feel like probably Mr. Babin needs to handle it, if he will, because he's been working on this issue for over 3 years now. So, but, and he indicated to me that they will arrange that meeting to review all of this. I couldn't tell you right now what we owe and what we don't know, and I've been in many meetings.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll address it. Any other discussion? Any opposition to the motion?
I object.
Mr. Barrett objects. Okay, we'll move on now. Mr. Turner?
Item number E is task order number 3-06A. Actually, this is does not require action on your part. It's a notification requirement. The Director of Public Works, in order to be as efficient and effective as we can, has the authority to enter into task orders up to $7,500. So I'm notifying you that I had entered into a task order of $7,000 for testing on the 2005 road program. And that's merely a notification to you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Agenda item number F.
Okay. Item number F is a request for children at play and speed limit signs on Tillison Lane and West Road. That's an item that the Transportation Committee approved, and I submit it to you.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Thompson, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved. G.
Item number G is a approval of a speed limit reduction in the Plantation Creek subdivision from 25 miles an hour to 15 miles an hour. That was approved by the Transportation Committee.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert, seconded by Councilwoman Fontenot. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved. H.
Item H is the request or recommendation for a three-way stop sign installed at Central Park Drive and Hollywood Park Drive in parts of Dutchtown subdivision. That was approved by the Transportation Committee.
Motion by Councilman Thompson, seconded by Councilwoman Fontenot. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved.
I is the items of roads recommended to be taken into the parish maintenance system. These were roads that were constructed and approved inside subdivisions. The Pin Oak subdivision, Misty Oak Court, and Old Dutchtown subdivision, North Old Dutchtown Avenue, and Mill Point Drive.
Moved by Councilman Hillsbeck, seconded by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Discussion. Opposition. So moved. All right. Thank you, Mr. Turner. Jay, Chairman's report.
The only thing that I wanted to state was that Mr. Turner did bring some information to us in the meeting at the Transportation, and he said that the work on LA 22 and 70 was near completion, that Airline Highway was still ongoing. It's really looking great. And LA 44, that the contractor was putting up signs, and so that should be moving forward. And I think they've already got the bridge out. Is that correct? Do you know?
The bridge is, the
Right.
bridge is in the
Ronnie would
process.
know. Ronnie would know. So the bridge is out. People need to go around, either through Sorrento or Geismar. And that's really all I have to report at this time. And we do have some other items to
Thank you.
take care of.
We'll move now to agenda item K, which is the resolution to the DOTD for Highway 44. Mr. Shakespeare.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And we're asking DPW, asking the council to direct DPW to work with DODT as an emergency safety situation to detour especially trucks from the position of the four-lane highway at that point and have them turn around. What has happened, and School Board Member Jody Ellisor called me this afternoon, and the residences are seeing actually trucks that are driving all the way up to the bridge and then backing all the way back to Loosemore and turning on 941 while other cars are going that way. As I was coming to the meeting tonight, as I was turning, I looked and there was a tank truck that was in the curve backing up while two cars came by. It's a very emergency situation. There is not correct signage to stop 18-wheelers, and a lot of people are going there from the computer with directions to go places from out of town, and they really don't know because it says the bridge is out 1.2 miles, but it doesn't say it's a dead end.
Right.
And so it's a very serious situation, and we need some immediate action, and I want to ask that we present a resolution.
So moved, Mr.
to
Chairman.
DOT.
Yes.
Moved by Councilman Berger, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any other discussion? No discussion, so moved. Mr. Attorney may suggest that some signs for the DOTD be placed at the intersection where they come off the interstate, no trucks, period. Okay, we'll move now to agenda item number L here, Worthy Road. Your discussion, Mr. Adrian Thompson.
Yes, Mr. Attorney, you mind?
Yes, I'd be glad to discuss this item. As you recall, West Worthy Road has it's under design for widening and improvement and has a bridge on it. Unfortunately, about a month ago, that bridge collapsed and we had to close the road. Since last month, I've been working very hard to try to find a solution to reopen that road as quickly as I can. And unfortunately, being here only a couple of months, I didn't realize that we had this $100,000 cap for contracts. I was under the impression that the council could give me emergency powers and I could do this in-house. And unfortunately, I found out yesterday, after I spent most of the day trying to figure out how to deal with this issue, that I really got to bid the project. I cannot do it in-house or go direct. I do have some good news, though, and the good news is that we did work with GSA and worked very hard to try to find some box culverts that would work for this location and get those set in rather quickly. The cost that was furnished to me for the cost of those boxes were $220,000. Fortunately, we have in our parish a bridge contractor. In fact, he's the bridge contractor working on the state's LA 44 bridge. He's going to be installing that bridge. He has what's called a Waski bridge, which is a precast bridge that he has available that fits exactly in this location. And so in contacting him, he has given me a proposal that's at least $100,000 less than the cost to install box culverts. So I was trying to move forward to purchase that bridge with him making the installation. It comes out to be $139,600 or something like that. I'm not able to do that. What I do want to tell you, and with your support, is that I want to move forward as expeditiously as possible to contract for that particular improvement. Somebody to, in effect, furnish us a bridge in place, complete, ready to go, at a fixed dollar amount. And he will bid on that project. He will bid the price that he gave me, and probably there'll be no other competition. But I will be absolutely strictly according to law. And I apologize for the fact that I didn't realize I was bucking up against that difficulty.
Move to authorize DPW go to bid.
Motion by Mr. McConnell, second by Mr. Thompson. Discussion.
Let me just say this, Mr. Chairman, I could, and what we've done, I don't know how long this $100,000 threshold has been there, so we're asking our legislator, and we've instructed Bob to go to DOTD and see is this, just being pre-Katrina, that's $150,000 now, as far as the actual cost of work and things. So we want to look at that and see. Obviously, this is something that's been out over a month now, and we could have got this done with our Public Works Department, a local contractor, quickly. And talking to the lawyers and all, it was difficult to declare it emergency because it's just a 1.5 mile detour, but we do have a lot of elderly people living in that area. And so we're going to look at what the possibility of that threshold being, if whoever makes that rule of law be indexed for inflation. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Any
for your
opposition? No opposition? So moved. Okay. That was it, right?
That's
fine.
that's
Okay, we'll move now to agenda item number 12, Strategic Planning Committee. Chairman Shakes now.
Our next meeting will be this Monday the 25th at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Agenda item number 13, Finance Committee. Chairman Jared Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 13A, payment to Grace and Abear Architects, APAC, $152,219.50 for professional services for work done on the Ascension Parish Jail renovations and additions.
So motion to pay the invoice.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Thompson, second by Councilman. No. Any discussion? Any opposition? I'm sorry, Mr. Hillensback.
Thank you. I didn't have my cheaters on earlier, and I spoke out of place. But again, I would like to state that all of my questions I had, I met with the sheriff today a couple of hours about the jail expansion and what have you, and all of my questions were answered, and fully on board. And I do appreciate the information he provided. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Any opposition? So moved. Jim.
Whew, that was a lot easier than the other night. 13B, cooperative endeavor agreement between Quad Area Community Action Agency and Ascension Parish for 1 calendar year on June 5th, 2007.
Motion. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Savoy, second by Councilman Thompson. Discussion.
Just one comment, Mr. Chairman. I apologize.
Any council?
I just wanted to say, Miss Winnie Sibley, the director of this agency, was unable to be with us last week because she was ill, and she has subsequently passed away. And she's provided a very valuable service to this area for a long, long time. And I'd just like people to keep Miss Sibley and her family in your thoughts and prayers.
Okay. And past
That's
what you
right.
wanted to say.
Just let us all know that happened.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other discussion? Any opposition? So moved.
13C, adoption of new contract by and between the Parish of Ascension and ADA PCO Vector Control Services.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Savoy, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Discussion? Any opposition? So moved.
13D, permission for use of the Animal Control Center to Town of Sorrento for animal control and housing. Ascension Parish responsible for capture or transportation of any animal located within the town of Sorrento.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, second by Councilman Shake Snyder. Discussion? Any opposition? So moved.
13E, new contract by and between Schmieder and Associates and Ascension Parish for GIS map services not to exceed $30,000 per year.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Shake Snyder, second by Councilman Hillensback. Discussion? No discussion? Any opposition? So moved. F is a duplication.
Yes, sir. 13G, funding in the amount of $200,000 for improvements to intersection of LA Highway 44 and Loosemore Road within 2 years. It's in exchange for a right of passage on parish property for the developer of the Edenborn Traditional Neighborhood Development in Gonzales. Mr. Chairman, I would like to offer an amendment to this actual agreement and change it from 2 years to let the developer offer a bond to go to 3 years, a surety bond.
Okay, Councilman Barriger,
That's
let's
my
get a
motion.
motion for the agreement, and then we'll tack the amendment on it, or we'll obviously let you do that.
So moved on the agreement.
Moved by the agreement by Councilman Schexnayder, second by Councilman Savoy.
Move.
You want to
to
amend it
amend.
now? You want to amend it, Mr. Barriger?
Yes, sir. I'd like to offer the amendment that we extend the time period from 2 years to 36 months, which is 3 years, and also allow the developer to, instead of actually putting up cash, to issue a surety bond when the parish is ready. Then he'll go ahead and pay the amount of $200,000.
Okay. Mr. Barriger offers the amendment, second by Councilman Schexnayder. Discussion on the amendment. Councilman Joseph.
Just want to, on that amendment, I have no problem with the amendment. Just want to make sure that everyone know that DPW took a report on it. They estimate that road will cost us about $500,000. So they only going to be paying like 1/3 of the project. I would like to see them pay half of it, of the cost.
Councilman Schexnayder.
Since it was brought up, I spoke with Mr. Smith today from the DODT, the division area, and he was very excited about getting seed money for a project, and he said this is due to them and they don't want to let this go by the wayside. He's going to spend some time figuring the procedure, because this is something that they haven't gotten a lot of, and just seeing how much the state will also put in. So we're at the point now where they're going back and see the state, in all probability, will match funds or match a good bit of it. So the parish will be come out very, very good on this at either way. So it's just at preliminary stages, and this is just the beginnings of it.
Thank you, Mr. Schexnayder. Any discussion on the amendment? Any opposition to the amendment? Amendment passes. We'll pass the motion now. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion. Any objection? No objection. Motion passes. Is that it, Mr. Barrett?
Yes, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. That's it.
Wake him up down there.
Okay. We'll move now to the general business part of our agenda, the number 14, the 2006 audit presentation. Winkler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you look in your packet, you should have a booklet or bound booklet which would represent the 2006 audited financial statements. What I'd like to start is just simply thank you again for the opportunity to serve the parish as its auditors. We consider it a privilege and appreciate your confidence. A few things before we get into the detail. We did review this information in detail. It's a rather large booklet, and this was presented to key members of your finance staff, where they, along with us, looked at it in great detail. We also had a exit conference on May 31st with key members of those same key members of the finance staff, along with your CAO, Tom Pierce, President Hughes, Chairman Valentine, and Councilwoman Fontenot, where we discussed this presentation I'll have tonight in more detail. But overall, I have a overview of the financial statistics, as well as a few of the recommendations that came out of the audit to go over with you. If you look towards the back of the document, you'll see some colored graphs that gives you some basic overviews, which is I plan to go over with you. Overall, looking at the statistics of the parish, this has got to be on record one of the best financial years you've had, taking that from the perspective of the resources available, the receipts that that came through for the parish this year, as well as the financial position that you ended with. But just starting on page S1, basically here you have the total assets of the parish. It ended the year at about $225 million. Compared to last year, it was around just at $195 million. roughly a $30 million increase in assets. Two major areas where that increase was experienced is in the blue part, which is cash, which went up about $6 million, and then property acquisitions, those things that are capital in nature that were acquired during the year, infrastructure work, donated streets, just other types of property that you acquire. So those are the two areas where you really saw asset increases. Looking down to the second half of that page, this basically represents the cash investments. That $5 million increase that you have is basically was experienced in two areas. One, in the blue part, which are special revenue funds, and that was predominantly the EA Drainage Fund. And the second area was your capital projects fund, which accumulated up to right at just over $38 million in cash at the end of the year. As you'll see a little later in the presentation, you'll see how that occurred and basically how that cash was accumulated. Going on to the next page on S2, looking at liabilities and fund equity, one of the positive things that happened here is you grew assets while reducing debt. That for the year, your bonded debt as well as accounts payable reduced by about $3 million over the year before. So you grew assets and you retired debt, and that's obviously a positive sign. And looking at the green and yellow portion of the graph, that was basically equity growth. And that basically can be seen on the second part of the graph, which is your fund equity keep comparing this to the fund basis, which is how you maintain your budget. But overall, you had several increases, primarily in your special revenue fund area, as well as capital projects that you accumulated funds in these areas. Here again, primarily East Ascension Drainage and your capital project funds. Looking at the next page on S3, here you basically have all your revenues, governmental source revenues. Here the big increase that you can see is all the tax collections. That sales tax was up substantially over the year before by about $4 million, and property taxes increased by about $2 million. So a lot of the growth and development that's going on in the parish is there is a benefit, or you're seeing the increase in terms of tax collections. The other area that increased that affected the general fund more than other funds was the licensing and permitting that you saw, that you had one of the best years that on record. Coming down and looking at the expenditures, so roughly you had looking at the top, about an $8 million increase in revenue. Looking at the expenditures, you had about a $2 million increase in revenue. So that's how you were able to basically accumulate cash. You had more cash coming in, and you spent you spent less than that. So a lot of cash you were able to accumulate throughout the year. But looking at the increase in expenses, going from $44 to $46 million, that only represents about a 4% increase in cost. And most of that was, if you look at most of the departments, they're relatively flat. So you're not seeing any huge spikes in terms of your spending as an overall group. As you move on into page S4 and throughout the rest of the document, these are going to be some more fund-specific statistics. And the first one is your general fund. Here, same sort of thing, that you're looking at tax increases as well as licensing and permitting increases. That if you look at the trend from 2002 to 2006, general fund revenues have increased from just under $4 million to just over $6 million. And this fund is heavily supported by your undedicated 1-cent sales tax. So to the extent these taxes and other resources are growing, it's basically reducing the burden on your undedicated sales tax and giving you some relief in terms of undedicated monies. Coming down to the second half of the page, here you can see general fund expenditures have remained relatively flat over a long period of time, with some increase during 2006. Here, the big increase really related to some of your personnel commitments that you made during the year. Going on to page S5, here are sales tax collections overall, the EA drainage collection. You've got the second district special tax collection as well as the undedicated tax in green. And here, this is just one of the best years on record that you're approaching $30 million in total sales tax collections. That's clearly good. Looking at the next page on S6, this is the 1-cent sales tax fund, the only real undedicated source of revenue that the parish has, or the unrestricted revenue, or unrestricted sales tax revenue that the parish has. In the year, you can see collections were up considerably over prior years, although the disbursements were somewhat comparable to the collections made during 2006. If you come down to the second part of the page, you can see that the big increase that you saw, one was in your budget ordinance, you appropriated excess money from the 1 cent to be transferred to the road construction fund. So the yellow part of this graph reflects that directive. But the other funds, your other operating funds, didn't need as much money. Seeing increases in the general fund, you weren't having to utilize these funds to make those other activities balance. So as a result, you saw some shrinkage there, and you were able to really push a lot of funding over into the road construction fund. Looking at page S7, this is your East Ascension drainage revenues and expenditures. For the year in 06, you're up considerably in terms of your revenue. Last year you were just over $10 million. This year you're around just over $12 million. So you had a substantial amount of increase in terms of revenue, and that's predominantly property tax and sales taxes. And if you come down to the bottom part of that page, you can see expenses are relatively flat. So you were able to accumulate a lot of cash in this area and build a lot of reserves in terms of what you were able to do, that you took in more money and you spent about the same. So it just flows to the bottom line. And then the final graph we have is your road construction and maintenance activities, which is the Road and Bridge Fund and the Road Construction Fund. And basically here you can see funding is up considerably over prior years, and that's primarily related to the transfer of excess sales tax from your 1 cent sales tax fund into the road construction fund. Looking at expenditures, you can see they are down from the previous year, primarily related to capital outlay activity. But overall, I mean, resources are as high as they've been, and expenditures have been relatively flat. So, I mean, you were able to really accumulate a lot of resources to do some things in the upcoming years. I have a couple quick comments. We do have a separate management letter where we identified a number of recommendations. We did go through that information at length during the exit conference. I'll just simply identify some of these areas. They generally relate to just administration issues or administrative recommendations for cash collections that are made outside of the finance office, that there are some other sites that collect money, and we offer some suggestions in terms of strengthening internal controls over those activities. The other area we had was just automation of certain operating procedures, that you have some procedures in place that are manually done, and simply automating those processes just would create efficiency internally. And then we had another new recommendation relative to your maintenance fund, and basically just expanding or exploring the expansion of the use of that fund, as well as enhancing the documentation associated with your position on how that fund operates. And then the last two recommendations that we have came over from last year's audit, which dealt with monitoring of parish agencies and dealing with your fixed asset accounting. The last thing I'll touch with you on is the last page of that document. There is a recap of all the council-administered funds. Several observations here. One, the general observation is if you look at just the surplus or the operating activity of all your council-administered funds for 06, the general observation we had was the majority of those funds exceeded the budget expectation that was set through your adopted 2006 budget. So they all operated better than what you appropriated or what was adopted in the budget for the most part. All funds, if you look at the middle column, which is the actual fund balance for 2006, all funds finished the year with a positive fund balance, which is what you want. I mean, they finished with positive ending financial position. And then even with, you end that year with roughly about $75 million in total fund balance, and looking at what you've got anticipated for 2007, even with spending appropriated of in excess of $21 million or $21.6 million, you can see that even with that kind of spending, you still have almost $55 million in total fund balance after appropriating that large or that volume of spending. So you still have hefty fund balances and good financial position ending the year. And the other thing I would comment on is that your fund balances pretty much represent cash positions. So if you've got real solid positive fund balances, you've got solid cash position, and that's what we basically observed. Overall, the last thing I would say is we really would like to thank the Finance Office. They really exerted a lot of effort throughout the audit. It is a pretty long, painstaking process to go through the information we have to do, and they were sort of with us the whole time and gave us the support we needed, so we thank them for that effort.
Thank you, Mr. Lejeune. Any questions of Mr. Tommy Lejeune?
One, Mr. Chairman. Tommy, back in '04, we instructed our finance to really get all of our agencies in a position where we'd have some rainy day funds and emergency funds. Do you feel that we've been able to accomplish that?
I mean, I think if you come back and look at that page, that the majority of these funds have good fund balances.
So you're comfortable with where we are with fund balances?
Yeah, I think you've got $75 million in fund balance. Your total expenditures for the year were right at $47 million. You know, you've got in excess of 1 year's expenses sitting in fund balance. I mean, that's not a lot of people. Not a lot of people can say that.
Councilman, Ms. LeBlanc's not here tonight. She deserves a lot of credit for this. You know, she has a daughter and grandchildren living in Saudi Arabia, so they're in town this week. She's not here. She's on vacation with her family.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tommy. No questions, Tommy. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you again.
Okay, Ms. Martha Collins. We're going to move to 14A, which is the 2007 Lake Pontchartrain. You'd asked me to put this on. A Councilman, you have that in front of you. Would you like to read that resolution at the bottom for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, President Hughes, members of the council. This was put on the agenda tonight as a two-thirds, and we appreciate that. This is for the Lake Pontchartrain Restoration Program. It is estimated for a $4 million funding that's coming through EPA, and we'll be applying for a project through DPW. The resolution will read to request Ascension Parish Council to approve to submit application for the 2007 Lake Pontchartrain Basin Restoration Program and to authorize Parish President Ronnie Hughes or Thomas Pierce, CAO, to sign and execute all documents pertaining to this application, and our Ms. Gwen LeBlanc, CFO, for any financial documents.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Savoy, second by Councilman Thompson. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved. 14B is the overview grant for the Ascension Parish Inclusion League project. Ms. Cheryl?
Thank you. We have been chosen to pilot a program that will enhance the quality of life. As you see, it's in front of you. This is a program that's being offered to us through the Louisiana Department of Health and Hospitals. It is $42,000, no match, no in-kind. It is for training. Our specific goals through this grant will be an increase in the number of activities offered by the recreational organization that is inclusive of all members of the general public, including individuals with disabilities in need of positive behavioral supports, an increase in the total number of individuals with disabilities who participate in at least one activity offered by the recreational organization, an increase in the number of individuals with disabilities in need of positive behavioral support who participate in at least one activity offered by the recreational organization. This is a pass-through program. The money won't go through. We will give them a list of everything we need, from training to equipment to technical support. So it's they read about the program we wanted to start in the paper, and their job is to find the programs and fund them. So we are coming to you with this to ask your support.
So moved. I move the resolution.
Moved by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Shakespeare. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved. Thank you, Ms. Cheryl.
Thank you.
Move now to agenda item number 15, 2007-2008 Local Government Assistance Program, grant application. Ms. Martha.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the 2007-2008 Local Government Assistance Program. As you know, last year was our first year to utilize this program. It is where we will be allowed to apply for $100,000. The cities will apply for $50,000, and the towns $35,000. So we asking a resolution for you to allow us to move forward on the application.
Motion by Councilman Thompson, second by Councilman Shakespeare. Discussion? Any opposition? So moved.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ms. Martha. Agenda item number 16, Ascension Parish Jail expansion discussion. Place this on the agenda after much discussion. See the sheriff has finally made it. That is a joke. I did not recognize you earlier in the meeting, Sheriff, because I knew you was on the agenda. So would you like to come forward? I think, Mr. Ziegler, you're going to present something to start off with, maybe? Or the Sheriff, why don't you?
No, you go right ahead.
Sheriff wants to give us just a little background and then bring us up to date.
Thank you,
And he
Chairman,
also
President,
has with
Council.
him. You might want to introduce who you have with you.
I will
Sheriff.
recognize Chief Criminal Deputy Tony Bacala and the warden and administrator at the jail that you own, Bobby Weber. And you didn't need to recognize me. Thank you, Mr. Hillingsbeck, sufficiently acknowledged me.
It's obviously he spent some time with you today.
More than one occasion. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, the issue is well known, the overcrowded situation at the, again, the building that you own and the building that I am the custodian of. We were reminded about this overcrowded situation again less than 10 days ago by the Louisiana Fire Marshal, who came in as they do regularly to check just administrative things, and noticed a lot of human beings on the floor and not in beds, and did a head count and said, no, this is in violation, and get back into compliance, which of course we did, and recognize our obligation in that regard. So what I would like to do tonight is maybe give you a historical, Mr. Chairman, is that correct?
That's
a brief,
fine.
Maybe foundation again for you as council members, but also for the general public as well. This jail overcrowded problem is probably in a critical end, probably 5 to 6 years old. This council, I will congratulate and thank again for your sensitivity to this, and for really the, I think, the substantive discussions that we've had and where we are today with the reality that jails are an inherent part of our government responsibility, and they're expensive. All right, and we would all like to spend the money on jails for parks for kids and for schools and for roads and what have you, but the obvious point is, one, I contend, points of the quality of life in Ascension Parish, and while people are storming the boundary lines to move here, I think is part of a thing called public safety. And one of the components of that, of course, is an adequate jail facility, which we do not have. We have a fine jail facility that you own. It's in great shape, and it's a superb building. It just needs to be doubled. Now, as the discussion began, as many of you know, the discussion was a 100-bed facility. And it didn't take me long after doing the math with my staff and with obvious compelling numbers to realize, ladies and gentlemen, that a 100-bed expansion, Mr. Chairman, I would have been back here in about 18 to 20 months saying, guess what? We need to do something else. And somebody in this audience or in the public or you might say, well, Sheriff, that's a pretty short-sighted plan you had 2 years ago. And so I didn't want to put you in that position, and I darn sure didn't want to put me in that position. I do think that it's incumbent upon us as responsible leaders to at least try to look around the curve. And I think the model that we have now that you are reckoning with tonight, which is a 240-bed model that can go to 300. The building that you will hopefully approve at some point in the future as we move forward will have 240 beds in it, but it can handle 300 beds. And what we're doing and engaging in with the President, with the Chairman, and certainly eventually with you, is we're doing, I think, a pretty neat deal on revenue sharing to help you on your debt service on this bond issue, and to help me on my recurring personnel expenses. Right now, Ascension Parish government pays me $3.50 a day for a parish prisoner or a pretrial prisoner, non-adjudicated prisoner. We have 270 people in our jail, probably 230 or so are pretrials. They are waiting for trial. We have about 25 to 28 Department of Corrections, Louisiana inmates. The state pays me to hold them $22.39 a day. We have 12 or so federal inmates that the United States Marshal's Office pays us $38 a day. So that's our revenue streams to operate or offset some of our expenses at the jail. As we move forward, ladies and gentlemen, into this project, this is what we want to maybe just kind of do a general overview on that, Mr. Chairman. As we move forward into hopefully the embracing of this project, what we're going to do is we're going to take every inmate that we can, and we're going to fill the new facility as quick as we can with state inmates and federal inmates, those that make revenue for us. Now, I will tell you that it costs us, me and you, what is it, Warden Weber? Over $40 a day. Over $40. It costs you $12 a day, and it costs me about, might be $38 or so to house an inmate a day. So you can imagine the $350 that you pay me. Of course, you own the building now. I'm giving you credit for that. That's important, and you maintain the building. You maintain the building at the tune of $1.25 million. I run the building at a tune of about $3 million. All right. So it's obviously an expensive endeavor. But what we'll do is we will take the inmates that we can fill that jail with on the front end before we start filling on the back end in 3 to 5 to 7 years with pretrials again, and we will make some revenue on it. We think that, and we're confident, quite frankly, that in 6 months, Mr. Chairman, we did some more extrapolations this evening. Warden Weber had already done some. I wish I'd had them and should have had them today at our discussion with you and the President. As we think that in 6 months we can have, we think it's realistic that we can have 65 DOCs and we can have about 15 or 20 federal prisoners in addition. And that funding estimated revenue stream is what, Bobby? $83,000, no more than that. $83,000 a month. Okay, got it. We will split that down the middle. There's a contract that is floating around here, draft, of course, Council, that you will be looking at as well. So that's kind of it's a partnership, and guess what? We already have that. And we certainly need to have that, but it is a model of two agencies that need each other for what we both do. And again, I thank you for your sensitivity to this, and I really look forward to the expropriation of the land. Mr. Babin, First Assistant DA, has been so good with. Your new planning guy, Ron, has been a real asset on this project, and I want to acknowledge that in assisting us with this. So I'll invite questions or yield to Mr. Ziegler. And, of course, my chief and the warden.
Well, I don't know just how much information you want tonight, and I don't.
To the mic, Ron.
I'm not sure exactly how much information you would like tonight. I have a copy of the completed plans. The invoice that you approved earlier, we have a project ready to bid, assuming that you make the approvals that you would need to tonight. As the Sheriff had stated, this facility is designed initially for 240 inmates in a minimum/medium security environment. I have a little experience in these, and what you'll find is your actual cost per inmate of keeping these people will be substantially less in manpower, utilities, everything else, versus basically the maximum security setup that you've got now in your jail. This plan is really nice because the same set of plans can be repeated if they need to be, up to 3 pod units of equal size to handle the sheriff's and the county and the parish's problems in the very distant future. I think if we keep adding those up, we could get up to a capacity of like 1,000 prisoners if we needed to in future years. Basically, the system is divided into 4 separate
facility. Each one of those facilities is self-contained with its own external recreation yard. It is all patrolled by a small group of guards in the middle, which greatly reduces the amount of manpower that's needed to watch these people. Historically, it's a concept that's about 15 years old. They're using it in places all over the country. It works very well. This project, we believe, will cost about $7 million for the building itself, and that includes about $200,000 worth of renovation inside the existing jail to make room. We need to upsize the visitation system for this many inmates. We also have some storage space problems that are better addressed inside the present jail than they would be in a new addition. But we're ready to go to bid. We'll get a better number when those bids come back. The facility itself is about $7 million. And then, as we've already discussed, we have a sewer problem that is really independent of the size of this project. It has to be addressed. It's about $2 million.
Okay. The chair naturally would be looking for a motion. We have already approved the expansion of the jail and dedicated $1 million. And the motion would need to read that we expand the jail from the 100 bed that we had approved before to a 240 bed.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Shakespeare.
Second.
Councilman Hillensback. Did you catch it?
Yeah, actually, I made the motion, but that's fine.
Okay.
I do have a question under discussion.
Okay, hang on just a second. Therefore, the project has already been approved. Essentially, we're moving it up, okay, along with that. Just to let you know that we already have approved for the funding of the bonds, and it would I think that's in process, right, Mr. Ryan? Okay. Yes, your question.
Thank you. Question for Mr. Sigler, and I looked through my packet, and he did touch on it briefly, the jail sewer contract that's also being addressed, which is all part of this project. What is that sewer contract dollar amount for exactly? Because I think it just should be stated for the record in the minutes how much we approve.
Our estimated cost on the entire jail sewer project, including an oversized collection facility at the jail that will not just handle the jail, but later Lemonville and also A-Bend. It's about $2.3 million, including all force mains, right-of-ways, professional fees, whatever, to go from there 3.5 miles to the Donaldsonville treatment plant.
Okay, so there is a cap on the contract of $2.3 million?
No, that's our estimated construction cost. We know the engineering costs are capped.
The engineering cost. Okay.
But we have not gone out for bid yet, so we do not know exactly what that number is going to come in. We feel comfortable 2.3 will do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, just to let you know what the sheriff was saying, there's a possibility, like he said, of the parish sharing upwards to close to $500,000 if I did my multiplication right there, Sheriff. Plus the fact that...
That's correct. Before the Falk report and the finance condition of this parish government.
Oh, you were here for that.
We think it's reasonable, Mr. Chairman, that within 6 months, and we think for 3 to 5 years, your share. Now, again, I'm qualifying this. We think it's reasonable that your share would be around $500,000 minimum. Yes.
Thank you. And you have to understand, naturally, once we build the jail, it will start to fill up with our own prisoners, and that will limit the sheriff and that revenue sharing. Also, Mr. Salvo, I know you know some of this. We also have the $500 $500,000 stag grant that will be also applied with the toward the sewer project that's involved also within the jail project. Okay. One thing that the sheriff, I think, may have failed to mention, too, is the fact that right now we're housing 17 women prisoners, Sheriff, in St. Charles that are costing us
$22.39 a day.
$22.39 a day. So that's upwards of to close to $100,000 a year. That also they will be able to be brought back. So this is a win-win situation. Parish President, you have any comment?
We have been meeting, as everybody said, and we recommend to the council that we do a 20-year bond. I think our financial people are comfortable with that. That debt service is between $900,000 and $1 million a year, and you've just heard for the next 3 to 5 years we anticipate it close to half of that, maybe half of that, a little more, actually coming to us through this revenue sharing mechanism. So and as we met with the sheriff again today, we're not aware of other entities in Louisiana doing this. So you truly see us working together to try to solve a problem that we share. It's our problem. It's all of our problems. It's our citizens. It's our parish problem. So we appreciate that, and just you need to understand that. If any of you feel differently about the bond situation, 10 years, 30 years, you need to express that. But the council leadership and administration has agreed on a 20-year bond situation, and we think we can fund for that period of time. And hopefully we can pay it off early.
Mr. Valentine.
Yeah.
Excuse
me, Councilman.
Yeah, just one final comment, and you know, those numbers that the sheriff presented tonight, that's based, and I think George will agree, that's based on the class of '69, right? Yours and George's both mathematics from way back when. So we'll accept that those are good numbers.
Well, at least he's off the 2 hours he spent with you today. Okay. Any other discussion? Any opposition to the motion? So moved. Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate Warden Weber and First and staff in line, Tony Bacala. Okay, we'll move on now to planning and zoning recommendations. Agenda item number 17, zoning review ID 1708.07, track LJG for Daystar Investment located on the east side of LA 73, approximately 5,000 feet north of LA Highway 30, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map for conservation to business park. This is to accept at a dime. Mr. Ziegler is here if you need any discussion on it.
Motion to accept.
Motion moved to accept planning's recommendation by Councilman Thompson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Oliver Joseph. Discussion. Any opposition? So moved. Agenda item number 18, Dutchtown Gardens, small plan unit development, the SPUD, located on the west side of LA 73 north of and adjacent to Dutchtown High School for Kodiak Companies, LLC, by SJB. This is for review only, it says here, but is that correct? Okay. It's for review only. Agenda item number 19, introduction of ordinances, the introduction of an amendment to an ordinance to amend the ordinance adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on February 2nd, 2006, to International 6-yard dump truck to correct the ordinance to insert the correct vehicle identification number in that transaction. Mr. Bouquois. Obviously, this is a house cleaning issue. Do I have a motion to introduce?
Motion to introduce.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Savoy. Any objection? No objection. Ordinance is introduced. Agenda item number 20, introduction of an ordinance revoking a 10-foot servitude along southern property line of track A-3-A, 15-foot servitude located along the north boundary of track A-3-A, and 35-foot drainage servitude traversing the southern portion of track A-3-B and the tip of lot SLL-1 for P&W Industries Incorporated property.
Motion introduced.
Motion by Councilman Savoy, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? The ordinance is introduced. Agenda item number 21, introduction of an ordinance revoking a 15-foot drainage and utility service shown on the tract of land designated as lots 18, 19, 20, and 28 of Stevens Estate and shown on the map entitled Stevens Estate Subdivision.
Motion.
Move by Mr. Martin McConnell, introduced. Second by Councilman Savoy. Any discussion? Any opposition? The ordinance is introduced. Agenda item number 22, introduction of an ordinance revoking a portion of the rear of public servitude and rededicate said servitude shown on those certain tracts of parcels of land designated of lots 220, 221, the estates of Manchac Harbor, formerly known as Manchac Fourth Filing, as shown on Exhibit A and Exhibit B, located in Sections 45 T8S-R3E for Manchac Harbor Partners, LLC.
So moved.
Moved by by Councilman Berger, second by Councilman Jackson. Any discussion? Any opposition? So moved. Agenda item number 23, introduction of an ordinance revoking an existing 15-foot servitude of Track A-1 of the Maxim Properties, LLC property situated in the northwest one quarter of the Section 21, T9S, R3E, SED, containing 1.83 acres.
Motion to introduce, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Todd Lambert, second by Councilwoman Fontenot. Any discussion? Any opposition? The ordinance is introduced. We'll now move to the public hearings and ordinance. Agenda item number 24, public hearing to consider an ordinance amending the section of 22-30 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances to add as an additional no-wake zone on portion of Black Bayou, Bayou Francois, and Severio Canal. Moved by Councilman Thompson, open public hearing, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any opposition to open public hearing? Public hearing is now open. Public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak on this agenda item, please approach the secretary and sign in with the secretary.
Motion to close.
Seeing no one, Mr. Hillensbeck make a motion to close
Second.
public hearing, second by Councilman Savoy. Agenda item number 25, the ordinance. Motion by Councilman Thompson, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Hang on a second.
point of order.
I'm
Aren't
gonna
we
say
supposed to
point of
read
order.
this?
Mr. Buqua, we were supposed to read the ordinance to start off with, so let's go back up right now. Let's go back to the public hearing. You're going to need to read the ordinance for us. I apologize. Oh, yeah, let's go back to the agenda item number 24 and the ordinance dealing with the no-wake zone.
Correct.
You will need to read it first.
I am reading.
Okay, sir.
Ordinance purpose to amend Section 22-30 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinance to add as an additional no-wake zone a portion of the Black Bayou Francois and Severio Canal, whereas the Ascension Parish Council, as the governing authority in and for the Parish of Ascension, finds it necessary to amend Section 22-30 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinances to include portions of Black Bayou, Bayou Francois, and Severio Canal as a no-wake zone. Therefore, be it ordained that Section 22-30 of the Ascension Parish Code of Ordinance be amended to read as follows. Section 22-30, no-wake zones. No person shall operate a motorboat, motor vessel, or recreational watercraft on waterways of this parish in excess of the posted maximum speed limit at that location, which, when appropriate signs giving notice thereof are erected, shall be effected at all times and at such specific times as may be determined by the police jury, at any location where a sign has been erected reading idle, no wake, or no wake zone, or language with the same or similar meaning, the maximum speed limit shall be 5 miles per hour or less. The maximum speed limit of 5 miles per hour or less are the no wake zones, in addition to other areas which may be posted, are as follows. 1. Black Bayou, at the location of the Stringer Bridge Parish Landing, 300 feet on either side of the landing. 2. Bayou Francois, at PJ's Landing, now formerly 300 feet up current of the dock and 300 feet down current of the boat launch. Number 3, Severio Canal, 300 feet on either side of Rogers C. Road Bridge.
Now I'll ask for a public hearing. Motion by Todd Lambert and a second by Councilman Savoy to open the public hearing. Public hearing is now open.
Motion to close.
Since no one is approaching the secretary to sign in, Mr. Hillensbeck moves to close the public hearing. Second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Hearing no objection. Yes.
Discussion.
Okay.
On one thing, and this just may be something that was left off, it says that on any location where a sign has been erected reading idle, no wake, or no wake zone, should we put language in there by the parish? Because to me, it would be anybody that puts up a no wake zone would be required to do that. There was some discussion before where we identified the specific signs. It's not identified
Mr.
here.
Turner, are you aware, or maybe someone else could answer this question? Mr. Laverne Bourgeois, maybe you don't. Our no-wake zones, do they say by order of the Ascension Parish?
Mm-hmm. And they have the ordinance on it.
The ordinance would probably automatically in there that it's only no signs
Okay.
I would just like to make sure that that is in there.
And Mr. Buqua, if that needs to be amended when we take up the ordinance.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
if I
hang
could.
on a second, Mr. Sheikh Snyder,
Yes,
can you
that's all
yield to
my
Mr.
concern.
Barriger?
Yes, I
Mr.
yield.
Barriger.
In the ordinance, it specifically states where those signs are going to be, so I think we're covered there.
Okay. The way he's talking about, though, if a no-wake sign is there, and it would be illegal, somebody would have to report it, and we'd have to take it down if it didn't say the ordinance in the Ascension Parish on it.
In fact, the Waterway Commission, Mr. Chairman, has removed some recently,
Okay,
from my
all right.
understanding.
All right, thank you. Okay, that clear you up, Mr. Sheikh Snyder? Okay. Any other discussion on the public hearing? Can we close that now? Okay, all right. We'll move now to agenda item number 25, the ordinance. Mr. Thompson moves, second by Councilman Barriger. Any other discussion? Any opposition? So move. We'll move now to agenda item number 26, public hearing to consider an ordinance amending the flood damage prevention ordinance adopted by Ascension Parish Police Bureau on November the 19th, 1992. Mr. Buqua, you can read that.
Ordinance purpose to amend the flood damage prevention ordinance adopted by the Ascension Parish Police Jury on November 19, 1992. Whereas the Ascension Parish Police Jury adopted a flood damage prevention ordinance on November 19, 1992 designed to minimize flood losses. Whereas the Ascension Parish Council wishes to amend the November 19, 1992 flood damage prevention ordinance to remain compliant with the National Flood Insurance Program and FIP requirements for adoption of new flood insurance rate maps. Whereas the Ascension Parish Council wishes to replace Article 3, Section B of the November 19, 1992 Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance with the following. Basis for establishing the areas of special flood hazard. The areas of special flood hazard identified by the Federal Emergency Management Agency in the current scientific and engineering report entitled The Flood Insurance Study, FIS, for Ascension Parish and Incorporated Areas, dated August 16, 2007, with accompanying flood insurance rate maps for Ascension Parish and incorporated areas dated August 16, 2007, and any revisions thereto are hereby adopted by reference and declared to be a part of this ordinance. Whereas the Ascension Parish Council wishes to make the following additions to the November 19, 1992 Flood Prevention Ordinance, to wit: Article 5, Provisions for Flood Hazard Reduction. Section E, Penalties for Noncompliance. No structure or land shall hereafter be constructed, located, extended, converted, or altered without full compliance with the terms of this court order and other applicable regulations. Violation of the provisions of this court order by failure to comply with any of its requirements, including violations of conditions and safeguards established in connection with conditions, shall constitute a misdemeanor. Any person who violates this court order or fails to comply with any of its requirements shall, upon conviction thereof, be fined not more than $500 or imprisoned for not more than 6 months, or both. For each violation, in addition, shall pay all costs and expenses involved in this case. Notwithstanding nothing contained herein shall prevent the Parish of Ascension from taking such other lawful action as is necessary to prevent or remedy any violation. Section F, Severability. If any section, clause, sentence, or phrase of this ordinance is held to be invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, then said holding shall in no way affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Be it ordained that the Ascension Parish Council is the governing authority in and for the Parish of Ascension does hereby authorize the amendment to the November 19, 1992 Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance, if passed.
Motion open public hearing.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, we'd like to, excuse me, who moved? Mr. Lambert moves to open the public hearing, second by Councilman Barriger. Any opposition to open the public hearing? The public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak on this agenda item, please approach the secretary.
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Thompson moves to close the public hearing, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Public hearing is now closed. Move now to agenda item number 27, the ordinance.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Thompson. Any discussion? Any opposition? No opposition. The ordinance is approved.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Moved to adjourn by Councilman Hillensbeck. Second by Councilman Savoy. Any discussion? No discussion. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attendance tonight, gentlemen, and Ms. Fontenot.